Welcome to London Neighbourhood Histories, brought to you by LondonFuse and the London Heritage Council as part of Doors Open London. During this audio tour, you'll have the opportunity to explore Hamilton Road. Much of the information in this tour is from the article, London Neighbourhood Histories, Hamilton Road Takes Care of Businesses, published on londonfuse.ca, researched and written by Amelia Eqbal. LondonFuse's Neighbourhood History series highlights and chronicles a sliver of the rich, layered heritage of some of London's neighbourhoods, the diverse individuals who have lived within them, and the events that have impacted their development. The tour begins at the Hamilton-Egerton-Trafalgar intersection on the north side by the Egerton Street Baptist Church at 209 Egerton Street and ends just before the intersection of Hamilton Road and Adelaide Street. We invite you to enjoy the tour from home or walk along the route we describe, taking time to pause and listen at your own pace. If you're listening to this tour while walking, please ensure you remain aware of your surroundings and follow traffic signals. Before we start the tour, we would like to acknowledge the history of the traditional territory and honor the long-standing relationships of the three local First Nations of this land and place in southwestern Ontario. What is now known as London, Ontario, is located on the traditional lands of Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape-Wook, and Attawandarun peoples on lands connected to the London Township and Sombra Treaties of 1796 and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum. The formidable Egerton Street Baptist Church has sat at this intersection of Hamilton Road and Egerton, known affectionately as Ham and Eggs, for over 100 years. It opened in 1904 and continues to serve the Hamilton Road community. Head west on Hamilton Road and stop next door at the Hamilton Road BIA at 596 Hamilton Road. Look directly across the street at a large two-floor house that played an essential role for travelers in the city in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Known as the Homesteader House, this building was once a traveler's hotel and tavern. Before Dundas Street was developed, early travelers to the city would often enter London via Hamilton Road to avoid the swampy portions of Dundas. As a result, many hotels sprung up to service the needs of these travelers. The former Homesteader House Hotel, built in 1877, is one of the few surviving structures from this period, though it has since been subdivided into apartments. A mix of industry, small businesses, and family homes, the Hamilton Road community has a rich history. Encompassing the stretch of Hamilton Road from Adelaide to Highbury, there is seemingly something for everyone. Indeed, the housing in this area alone is remarkably diverse thanks to its swath of homes built from the late 19th century to the post-World War II era in varying styles. Continue heading west on Hamilton Road. You'll pass a car dealership that was once the site of the Savoy Theatre at 586 Hamilton Road. Built in 1928, the theatre was initially operated as the Rex Theatre, but adopted its new name in 1951 until it was demolished in the early 1960s. Next door, 560 Hamilton Road, now a variety store, was once home to the local YMCA Community Center in the late 1950s. In the 1940s and 50s, the Hamilton Road branch of the YMCA Community Center had moved frequently until the new Bob Hayward Y was built in 1963 on Hamilton, east of Highbury Ave. Today, the neighborhood bears such cultural locales as the Crouch branch of the London Public Library, which you will see coming up on your right as you head west on Hamilton Road. This neighborhood is also home to Tommy Hunter Way. Known as Canada's country gentleman, Tommy Hunter was born in London, Ontario in 1937. He went on to lead a long career as a singer, guitarist, and television host, earning such accolades as being inducted to the Country Music Hall of Fame, London Music Hall of Fame, and the Order of Canada, but he never forgot his roots. A street in the Hamilton Road area was renamed in his honor in 1997. As you walk west along Hamilton Road, the stretch of businesses and community services show a mix of old and new. In the early days of the community, when the area was known as London East, the oil industry had a commanding presence on Hamilton Road. After the establishment of the first oil wells in North America in Lambton County in 1857, Hamilton Road was soon teeming with industrial sites ready to refine, transport, and market oil. London's first refinery was established in 1863, but by the end of the 1860s, there were dozens of refineries around Hamilton Road. One such refinery was the Atlantic Petroleum Works, established in 1866, when the oil business was at its height in London, by German immigrant brothers Herman and Isaac Waterman. The site spanned 4 acres of land, and the firm became one of the province's leading businesses in refining petroleum. Isaac Waterman is said to have taken pains to provide comfortable homes in the area to his workmen at a moderate price, efforts which resulted in London East's population growing to about 4,000 inhabitants. But after a disastrous collapse in the Canadian oil business during the 1870s, the local oil barons consolidated their businesses to form the Imperial Oil Company. After a series of fires and mounting concerns about pollution, most of the refineries relocated away from the city. In the early 20th century, the arrival of bountiful electricity from Niagara Falls via the newly built Public Utility Commission Substation No. 2 provided a considerable boost to the local community. It was only the second electrical substation in the city, and it was built on Campbell Street just north of Hamilton Road to serve the area's industrial needs. Other notable industrial pursuits in the area include the London Concrete Machinery Co. complex on the south side of Campbell Street, the oldest parts of which date back to 1910. The company was a leading player in manufacturing portable hand-operated machines for laying concrete, which allowed for greater use of concrete in foundations and road building. Today, the businesses in the neighborhood serve both the local population and the city as a whole. Notable institutions in the neighborhood include the Neighborhood Laundromat and Cafe, which uniquely elevates the tedious task of washing clothes by serving local coffee and fresh meals on site. Summers Hardware, which has been serving the community for over 100 years, and Con Meat Market, London's oldest meat market. Continuing west on Hamilton Road, you'll soon be approaching Rectory. You'll pass the London Portuguese Bakery, just one of the many Portuguese establishments in this neighborhood. London, and the Hamilton Road area specifically, has long been called home for many of Portuguese heritage. After all, the headquarters for the Portuguese Club of London, PCL, is located just outside the Hamilton Road area. PCL was established in 1967 to grow and unite the Portuguese community in the area. Now, more than 50 years after its inception, the PCL continues to ensure the community thrives through programs and resources such as its traditional folk dance, or ranchos, troupe and the Holy Spirit Marching Band, which has been delighting audiences both locally and internationally since 1975. Rio dos Lietos, or King of Piglets, is another Hamilton Road establishment famous for its authentic Portuguese food. The name Rio dos Lietos is not unique. The phrase first became popular in Barreada, Portugal, where the specialty was to roast piglets, making the region well known for its unique style, Lieto à Barreada. Many in the Portuguese community consider this to be the best way to roast pork. As immigrants moved to other countries, they adopted the name and served up their version of Rio dos Leitos, making it a well-known style of preparation in other Portuguese communities around the world. London's Rio dos Leitos, located farther east on Hamilton Road, first opened its doors in 1992. The Vieira family bought the restaurant in 2001 and introduced the surrounding community to its unique charcoal-infused chicken and signature sauces, which then earned them the reputation as King of the Pigs. As you walk down Hamilton Road, you'll likely come across some unique statues carved out of tree trunks. The tree trunk tour is a particular cultural point of pride for the neighborhood's business community. The unique public art collection features more than a dozen custom carvings in the area that tell a story. Originally started in London by the Woodfield Community Association, the Hamilton Tree Trunk Tour is a partnership between Tourism London, the City of London, Steel Canada, and the Hamilton Road Business Association. The tour perfectly captures London's love for trees, as it is the forest city. It also bolsters London's reputation as the forest city by providing artists with the tools necessary to create tree carvings in the name of public art. Some of the remarkable sculptures in the area include the Steel Band Trio, located outside the iconic London music venue Eastside Bar and Grill, the Good Shepherd that stands outside the All Saints Anglican Church, and the King of Pigs, fittingly poised outside the popular Portuguese restaurant Rio dos Leitos. As you cross Little Hill Street, coming up on your left is what was once known as the Hyatt Avenue Methodist Church, built to serve a congregation dating back to 1873. It has an eclectic structure that incorporates both Romanesque and Flemish features. The building was purchased in 2015 by the Egyptian Community Centre of Ontario. Renovated and restored, the building is now the Hyatt Centre and Mosque, serving as a place of worship as well as the home to the Muslim soup kitchen. A block west on the south side of Hamilton Road, you'll see another architectural standout, the All Saints Church. Its spire, citizen and parishioner Harold Slade wrote in 1948, reminds all who see it of the church's mission to bring humanity to the knowledge of God who reigns above. 128 years after the first services were held near the corner of Adelaide Street and Hamilton Road, the spire at the so-called Working Man's Cathedral continues to serve as a symbol of hope for the whole community. You can continue walking west on Hamilton Road, at this point ending your tour at Hamilton and Adelaide, or turn around and head back east. As you walk, we'll be sharing some stories about two prominent residents of Hamilton Road, James F. Jenkins and Stanley Robert Gabby Anderson. James F. Jenkins was one of Canada's preeminent Black leaders and a resident of Hamilton Road. Jenkins founded Canada's first Black newspaper, The Dawn of Tomorrow, publishing its first issue from his family home at Glenwood Avenue, located just off of Hamilton Road, on July 14, 1923. Born in Forsyth, Georgia, Jenkins was educated in the liberal arts and worked with influential Black leaders, such as W.E.B. Du Bois. Jenkins arrived in London in 1907 and knew that Black Canadians faced many obstacles, whether it was getting rejected by the army for the color of their skin or feeling safe in their own neighborhoods. After the First World War, racial tensions were heightened and Black communities were scattered, making communicating from one to the other difficult. Knowing how crucial it was for Black Canadians to stay in touch for mutual support, he launched his paper, with the hopes he had for the publication built right into the title. The paper filled a necessary gap in communication between communities. In publishing The Dawn of Tomorrow, Jenkins wrote, "It is to be remembered first, our people in Canada do not possess a newspaper. Second, that the circulation of the American colored newspapers in Canada is very small. And third, very little news of our people in Canada is in American publications." The publication covered topics such as how Black Canadians and Americans could work together, racial inequalities left unacknowledged in Canadian society, and the accomplishments of Black Canadians. Jenkins' efforts towards intercommunity cooperation and Black advocacy helped to catalyze the creation of the Canadian League for Advancement of Colored People, the CLACP. History was made again within the Black community of Hamilton Road a few decades later, when Stanley Robert Gabby Anderson moved with his family to the area from Detroit, Michigan in 1930. The Andersons also lived in Glenwood Ave in East London. Anderson recalls the jovial community atmosphere in the area growing up, one that still exists in the neighborhood today, saying, "We were friends, we all know who we were. We had to go out and make our own fun. We swam in the river and played football. I belonged to an East End gang." Both Anderson's father and uncle played on a league team for Black Canadians, representing the Hotel London in the 1930s. As a child, Anderson played organized ball at St. Julian Park and junior baseball in the London Majors system. He went on to play professional baseball in the Pony League with Olean, New York and Peoria, Illinois from 1950 until 1955, when he was enlisted in the U.S. Army. Anderson joined the London Majors in 1957, and in the 10 years he played with the team, Anderson not only earned the title of league batting champion twice, but also made the All-Star roster 8 times. In addition, Anderson helped establish Eager Beaver Baseball, a co-ed youth baseball league in the city, and served on its executive committee in the 1960s. While history has seemingly been made on every corner of the neighborhood, Hamilton Road's reputation as a haven for the working class and immigrants, both past and present, remains the same. This familial sense of community spirit sets the neighborhood apart and ensures it will thrive for years to come. Thank you for joining this audio tour of Hamilton Road. We hope you enjoyed and learned something new about your neighborhood. London Neighbourhood Histories audio tour is brought to you by LondonFuse and the London Heritage Council as a part of Doors Open London. Find more London Neighbourhood Histories at londonfuse.ca/heritage.